The moment Dr. Sarah Chen realized humanity wasn't alone in the universe, she was already dead. The irony wasn't lost on her as she floated in the void of space, her research vessel's wreckage scattered across the asteroid belt like cosmic confetti. The emergency beacon in her suit blinked steadily, a rhythmic reminder that help would arrive far too late. 48 hours earlier, her team had made the discovery that would change everything. The Kuiper Research Station, buried deep within a metallic asteroid designated KBO 7249, had yielded what appeared to be artificial structures, not human-made. These were far too old, predating Earth's formation itself. "This is impossible," Dr. Chen had whispered, running her gloved hand along symbols that seemed to shift and move under her touch. The structures weren't just ruins. They were active, responding to human presence for the first time in billions of years. The response came faster than anyone could have predicted. The signal burst from the ruins traveled faster than light itself, breaking physics as humanity understood it. Within hours, the first ships appeared, massive crystalline structures that defied conventional geometry. They didn't communicate. They didn't demand surrender. They simply began systematically destroying everything human-made in the solar system. The Kuiper Research Station, with its crew of 15 brilliant scientists and engineers, was among the first casualties. Dr. Chen had barely managed to get into her suit before the station's atmosphere vented into space. Now, as she drifted in the void, she watched the alien ships methodically working their way toward Earth. Her suit's communication system crackled to life. Not the rescue channel she'd been hoping for, but something else. The aliens were broadcasting on all frequencies, their message translated through their observation of human communications. "You have awakened what should have remained sleeping. The quarantine must be maintained. Your species will be removed." Dr. Chen's oxygen gauge showed 30 minutes remaining. Enough time to ensure humanity's survival, if she could only reach someone who could act on her discovery. The ruins hadn't just been a signal beacon. They'd contained something else. Plans, specifications, a defense system left behind by whoever had built them. The suit's emergency transmitter was short-range, but she could modify it. The crystals she'd collected from the ruins, still secured in her suit's sample pouch, could amplify the signal. It would burn out the transmitter, use up her remaining power, but it might reach Earth. Her fingers, clumsy in the thick gloves, worked quickly. The crystalline fragments hummed as she integrated them into the transmitter circuitry. She had one chance to get the message right. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the Kuiper Research Station. The aliens aren't invaders. They're caretakers, guardians of something they fear. The ruins contain blueprints for biomechanical defense systems, machines that bond with organic pilots. They're afraid of these weapons because they can't use them. Only human neural patterns are compatible. Find the data I've uploaded. Build them. Fight back." The modified transmitter glowed bright enough to blind her as it sent the burst transmission. Then darkness. Her suit's power was gone. The oxygen gauge blinked a final warning. The last thing Dr. Chen saw was the alien ships, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the distant sun. She smiled, knowing that humanity's greatest weakness, its desperate drive to survive, to adapt, to fight against impossible odds, would become its salvation. 3 days later, in a secured facility beneath the Mariana Trench, Admiral Helena Rodriguez stared at the decoded transmission from the Kuiper Belt. Around her, the world's greatest minds had gathered, brought together by an extinction-level threat. "The blueprints are complete," Dr. James Patel, the lead engineer, reported. "These aren't just machines. They're something more, something that needs us as much as we need them." "How long to build the first prototype?" Rodriguez asked, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the alien fleet's approach. 3 weeks, if we bend every law of physics and human endurance. The aliens will reach Earth in 2. Make it happen." As the facility erupted into action, Rodriguez looked one last time at Dr. Chen's final transmission. Humanity had always looked to the stars for salvation or destruction. They never imagined they'd find both in the same moment. The war for survival was about to begin, and humanity's greatest weapons would be built from the very technology their enemies feared most. In her final moments, Dr. Chen had given Earth a fighting chance. They wouldn't waste it. The Mariana facility shook with another impact as the alien fleet bombarded Earth's defensive platforms in orbit. Deep beneath 12 kilometers of ocean, Dr. James Patel watched as his team made the final adjustments to humanity's last hope. They called it the Prometheus Cradle, a massive chamber filled with a silvery liquid that seemed to defy gravity, climbing the walls in impossible patterns. At its center stood their creation, a 20-meter-tall biomechanical entity that looked more grown than built. Neural interface initialization in 3 minutes, announced Dr. Maya Ishikawa, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. She'd been working without sleep for 4 days, sustained by military-grade stims and raw determination. From her observation post, Admiral Rodriguez watched the final preparations. The aliens had already destroyed most of Earth's conventional defenses. Billions had fled to underground shelters. They had one shot at this. The test pilot, Captain David Torres, lay in the integration chamber. Electrodes covered his body, connecting him to the silvery liquid that would facilitate the neural bond. His vital signs displayed on nearby monitors, steady despite what they were about to attempt. "Captain, are you ready?" Rodriguez asked through the intercom. Torres managed a tight smile. "Born ready, Admiral. Let's show these cosmic janitors what happens when they pick a fight with humanity." The liquid began to move, responding to signals from the control center. It flowed over Torres's body, enveloping him in a cocoon of shifting metal. The biomechanical entity in the center of the chamber responded, its surface rippling with patterns that matched Torres's brainwaves. "Neural synchronization beginning," Ishikawa reported. "First stage connection established." Torres's vitals spiked. His body arched in the chamber as the liquid seemed to sink into his skin, creating patterns similar to circuit boards beneath the surface. The massive machine's eyes, if they could be called that, began to glow with the same rhythm as Torres's heartbeat. "Second stage connection initiating," Patel announced. "This is where it gets interesting." The room fell silent as everyone watched the monitors. Previous attempts at second stage connection had failed catastrophically, the human mind unable to handle the merger with the alien technology. But Torres' readings remained stable, his consciousness expanding into the machine's neural network. "It's incredible." Torres's voice echoed through both the intercom and the machine's external speakers simultaneously. "I can feel everything. The facility, the ocean above us, the vibrations from the orbital bombardment." The biomechanical entity moved, raising its arm in perfect synchronization with Torres's own movement. The liquid metal that had covered his body now formed an interface suite, allowing him to control the massive form as naturally as his own. "Connection holding steady at 89% compatibility," Ishikawa reported, her voice tight with excitement. "That's well beyond our highest projections." Rodriguez stepped closer to the observation window. "Captain, can you access the combat systems?" The machine's surface shifted, panels opening to reveal weapon systems that seemed to blend organic and technological components. "Affirmative. Defensive capabilities online. Offensive systems. They're beyond anything we theorized. This isn't just a weapon, Admiral. It's an evolution." Warning klaxons suddenly blared throughout the facility. "Multiple bogies incoming," the defense officer shouted. "They've detected the energy signature. 3 crystalline ships descending through the atmosphere." Rodriguez straightened her uniform. "Well, Captain, it looks like we're about to have our field test sooner than planned. Are you combat ready?" The biomechanical entity's eyes flared brighter. When Torres spoke again, his voice carried an otherworldly harmony, as if the machine itself was speaking with him. "Ready to introduce our visitors to humanity's newest defense system. Launch protocols initiated. Patil announced, cradle doors opening. The massive doors above the chamber began to part, allowing the ocean waters to pour in. The biomechanical entity remained unmoved, its surface adapting to the extreme pressures. Torres's vital signs remained steady as the machine began to rise through the water column. Remember, Rodriguez called out, this isn't just about survival anymore. This is about showing them why humanity was never meant to be contained. As the entity ascended toward the surface, carrying humanity's hopes with it, Rodriguez thought about Dr. Chen's final message. The aliens feared these machines because they couldn't control them. Now they would learn why. Human adaptability, creativity, and sheer stubborn determination made them the perfect pilots for technology that required more than just technical interface. The war for Earth was about to enter its second phase, and humanity was no longer defenseless. Through sacrifice, innovation, and the fusion of alien technology with human spirit, they had created something unprecedented in the galaxy. The real question was, would it be enough? The surface of the Pacific Ocean erupted as Captain Torres emerged in his biomechanical form. Seawater cascaded off the entity's adaptive surface as it rose to its full height, dwarfing the nearby naval vessels that had gathered to witness humanity's first counterattack. 3 crystalline ships hung in the sky, their geometric forms distorting the clouds around them. They immediately reacted to Torres's presence, their surfaces fracturing and reforming into offensive configurations. Inside the neural interface, Torres experienced reality through both human and machine senses. The entity, which he had named Prometheus I, fed him information about atmospheric conditions, structural weaknesses in the alien vessels, and countless other data points that his enhanced consciousness processed instinctively. They're charging weapons, he reported, his voice resonating through both communication channels and the very air around him. But there's something else. I'm detecting confusion in their energy signatures. The first alien blast came fast, a beam of coherent energy that would have vaporized a conventional warship. Prometheus I's surface rippled, the attack dispersing harmlessly across its adaptive shield. Torres responded instinctively. Prometheus I's arm transformed, generating a weapon that combined principles of physics humanity had only theorized about. The blast caught the nearest alien ship mid-transformation, shattering its crystalline structure into a million glittering fragments. In the Mariana facility's control room, Dr. Ishikawa monitored the neural feedback carefully. The interface is evolving, she reported. Captain Torres's neural patterns are teaching the system, and it's teaching him. They're becoming something new. The remaining alien ships spread out, attempting to flank Prometheus I. Their next attack came from multiple angles, space itself seeming to twist around their weapons. Torres felt the assault not as pain, but as pressure against his expanded consciousness. They're trying to communicate, he suddenly announced. Not with radio or conventional signals. The weapons themselves. They carry information. Admiral Rodriguez leaned forward. Can you decode it? Better. Torres raised Prometheus I's hands, its surface reconfiguring into complex geometric patterns that mimic the alien ship's structure. I can speak their language. The air between Prometheus I and the alien vessels filled with cascading waves of energy, carrying meaning through the fundamental forces of physics itself. The alien ships froze in mid-attack, their surfaces rippling with what could only be described as surprise. They're saying we shouldn't exist, Torres translated. The technology we're using, it belongs to something they call the World Shapers, an ancient race that vanished after seeding the galaxy with their relics. Why are they attacking us? Rodriguez demanded. Because. Torres paused, processing the alien concepts through his enhanced mind. Because the World Shapers left these weapons specifically for species like us, species with the potential to become like them. The aliens are some kind of self-appointed guardians, preventing what they see as dangerous evolution. The communication continued, but the aliens remained hostile. Their ships began generating a new form of attack, one that targeted the neural interface itself. Torres felt the first assault like ice in his veins. They're afraid, he realized, not just of the technology, but of how quickly we've adapted to it. They say humanity is demonstrating dangerous convergence acceleration. The battle resumed with renewed intensity. Torres found himself fighting not just for survival, but for humanity's right to evolve. Each exchange of fire carried layers of meaning, arguments made in the language of physics and force. In the facility below, Dr. Patel worked frantically on the data streaming in from Prometheus 1. The neural interface is showing signs of further adaptation. It's not just allowing Torres to control the machine. It's using his creativity, his human intuition, to evolve its own capabilities. Rodriguez watched as Prometheus 1 engaged both alien ships simultaneously, its movements becoming more fluid, more innovative. The machine was learning from Torres's combat training, while Torres was learning to think in ways that no human ever had before. "Status of the other pilots?" she asked. "The next wave is ready," Ishikawa confirmed. 5 more compatible candidates, all showing similar neural plasticity to Torres. "We can have them integrated within hours." The Admiral nodded grimly. "Get them prepared. Something tells me we're going to need every one of them." Above, the battle had reached a stalemate. The alien ships couldn't penetrate Prometheus 1's defenses, but Torres couldn't land a decisive blow against their coordinated attacks. Yet with each passing minute, both sides were learning, adapting, evolving. Humanity's first real defense against extinction had proven itself viable, but it had also revealed a deeper truth. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for their species' right to become something more. The real question was, what would humanity become in the process? 2 weeks after humanity's first successful defense, the skies above Earth had become a battlefield of impossible physics and evolutionary warfare. 6 Prometheus units now operated globally, each pilot pushing the boundaries of human potential and machine adaptation. Lieutenant Sarah Martinez, piloting Prometheus 3, soared through the mesosphere, her biomechanical form leaving trails of quantum distortion in its wake. Below her, Captain Torres engaged 3 crystalline ships in what had become a daily dance of destruction and creation. Above, the main alien fleet hung like a geometric constellation, a constant reminder of humanity's precarious position. Neural sync at 94% and climbing, Martins reported, marveling at how natural it felt now. The interface had evolved beyond simple control. She wasn't wearing the machine anymore. She had become it, ready to test the new configuration. In the Mariana facility, Dr. Ishikawa monitored the readings with growing excitement. "The organic components are responding to your neural patterns perfectly. Whatever you're planning, Lieutenant, your machine is already adapting to make it possible." Martinez smiled within her neural cocoon. When she'd started pilot training, she'd been a quantum physicist. Now she was something else. Part human, part machine, all innovation. Her consciousness expanded through Prometheus 3 systems, feeling the way space itself curved around them. "Initiating quantum fold maneuver," she announced. The aliens had shown them that space wasn't rigid. It could be manipulated, folded, reshaped. But human minds, unfettered by preconceptions of what was possible, had taken that knowledge in new directions. Prometheus 3's form shifted, its surface becoming a fractal pattern that mirrored the underlying structure of space-time. Then Martinez did something that made the alien ships recoil in what could only be described as horror. She began to dance. Each movement of her biomechanical form created ripples in reality, turning the very fabric of space into a weapon. The aliens had used brute force to bend physics. Humanity had turned it into an art form. Multiple contacts breaking formation, Torres reported, his own Prometheus unit adapting to complement Martinez's strategy. "They've never seen anything like this. We're not just using their weapons, we're changing them." Admiral Rodriguez watched from the command center as the battle unfolded. The other Prometheus units had joined the engagement, each pilot bringing their unique background and perspective to the neural interface. Commander Chen, the quantum engineer, had turned his unit into a living probability wave. Captain Patel had somehow taught her machine to exist in multiple timeframes simultaneously. Dr. Ishikawa, Rodriguez called. What exactly are we watching? The scientist's hands trembled as she analyzed the data. Evolution, Admiral. Not just of our technology or tactics, but of human potential itself. The neural interface doesn't just let them control the machines. It's teaching them to think in new dimensions. And in turn, their human creativity is teaching the machines to transcend their original design. The alien fleet's response was immediate and devastating. Hundreds of crystalline ships descended from orbit, their combined energy weapons turning the atmosphere into plasma. But humanity's 6 defenders had already changed the rules of engagement. Martinez's quantum dance created safe pockets of space-time throughout the battlefield. Torres's unit had learned to redirect energy attacks through probability loops. The other pilots each contributed their own innovations, turning the aliens' superior numbers against them. They're transmitting again, Torres reported, his enhanced consciousness translating the physics-based language. They're calling us abominations, saying we're becoming like the world shapers too quickly without understanding the consequences. That's where they're wrong. Martines responded, her voice carrying through both communication channels and the quantum fluctuations around her. We understand perfectly. We're becoming something new, something that can protect our world and expand beyond it. That's what humanity does. We adapt, we grow, we transcend. In the facility, Dr. Petal rushed into the command center, his face flushed with excitement. Admiral, we've decoded more of the ruins data. The world shapers, they weren't just leaving weapons for species like us. They were leaving an inheritance, a path to becoming like them. Rodriguez watched as her 6 pilots rewrote the laws of physics through sheer human ingenuity and determination. And what exactly were the world shapers? As far as we can tell, Paddle replied, they were the universe's first sentient species. They didn't just shape worlds. They could reshape reality itself. And they've been waiting for someone worthy to follow in their footsteps. The battle above continued to escalate, but something had changed. The alien fleet's attacks seemed desperate now, driven not by tactical necessity but by fear. They weren't just fighting human defenders anymore. They were witnessing the birth of something they had spent eons trying to prevent. Humanity's transformation had begun, and there would be no turning back. The moment of humanity's greatest transformation began not with a bang, but with a revelation. As the 6 Prometheus units fought above Earth's atmosphere, Lieutenant Martinez's enhanced consciousness detected something hidden in the quantum fabric of space itself, a message written into reality by the world shapers eons ago. There's a pattern, she transmitted, her voice resonating across multiple dimensions of space-time. It's in everything. The ruins, the machines, even the alien ships. We weren't just meant to find this technology. We were meant to understand it. Captain Torres, his Prometheus unit engaged with 3 crystalline ships, processed the information through his evolved neural interface. The aliens aren't guardians, he realized. They're failed inheritors. They found the world shaper's legacy but couldn't comprehend it, couldn't evolve. In the Mariana facility, Dr. Ishikawa's monitors exploded with data as the pilot's neural patterns began shifting into configurations that defied conventional physics. Their consciousness is expanding exponentially, she reported. The machines aren't just tools anymore. They're becoming cocoons for human evolution. The alien fleet gathered above Earth's pole, thousands of crystalline ships merging into a structure that dwarfed cities. Their combined voice transmitted across all frequencies, no longer needing translation. You cannot be allowed to complete this transformation. The world shaper's power cannot be claimed by such an unstable species. Admiral Rodriguez watched as her 6 pilots moved into formation, their biomechanical forms radiating energy that bent light itself. They're wrong about us, she said softly. Instability isn't our weakness, it's our strength. We don't just adapt, we transform. We don't just learn, we transcend. The alien structure unleashed its full power, a beam of pure entropy that could unmake matter itself. But humanity's defenders had evolved beyond mere matter. The Prometheus units moved in perfect synchronization, their pilot's consciousness expanding beyond individual identity into a collective understanding that remained uniquely human. Martinez danced through quantum strings, Torres rewrote probability, and the others each contributed their own impossible innovations. Together, they didn't just deflect the attack, they absorbed it, understood it, and transformed it. "We see you now," the pilots transmitted together, their voices carrying understanding rather than judgment. "You've been trapped in stasis, afraid of change, afraid of what the world shaper's legacy truly means. But evolution isn't about becoming powerful, it's about becoming more." The biomechanical forms began to shift, no longer bound by conventional physics or traditional dimensions. The pilot's enhanced consciousness reached out to the alien minds, sharing not just information but understanding. The world shapers didn't vanish, Martines realized, her awareness touching ancient truths written into the universe itself. They evolved beyond physical form entirely, and they left their technology not as weapons, but as teachers. Each species that finds it must choose, stagnate in fear or transform through understanding. The alien structure's attack faltered as truth resonated through their crystalline forms. Millennia of enforced stasis began to crack under the weight of human innovation and empathy. In the facility, Dr. Patel decoded the final messages from the ruins. "It's beautiful," he whispered. The world shapers didn't want successors to their power. They wanted children who could grow beyond them. Evolution without end, transformation without limits. The 6 Prometheus units began to glow with impossible light as their pilots reached the threshold of transformation. But instead of ascending alone, they reached out to both humanity and the alien consciousness. "This is what makes us different," Torres transmitted. "We don't want to leave others behind. Evolution isn't about becoming superior, it's about lifting everyone up, teaching, learning, growing together." The alien structure's crystalline surface began to pulse in rhythm with the Prometheus units. Eons of self-imposed stagnation gave way to the first flickering of change. "We offer you a choice." Martinez's consciousness resonated through space itself. "Remain as you are, or join us in becoming something new. Not world shapers, but reality weavers. Not guardians of stasis, but guides for growth." The response came not in weapons fire but in transformation. The crystalline ships began to shift, their rigid geometry flowing into new forms that reflected understanding rather than fear. Above Earth, humanity's first steps into cosmic evolution became not a solitary journey, but a shared metamorphosis. The very forces that had threatened extinction became partners in transcendence. Dr. Ishikawa's final readings showed neural patterns that no longer registered on conventional scales. The pilots, their machines, and even their former enemies had begun a transformation that would reshape not just humanity's future, but the very nature of consciousness itself. In the end, humanity's greatest achievement wasn't surviving the alien threat. It was showing the galaxy that evolution wasn't a zero-sum game. Through human creativity, adaptability, and the fundamental desire to grow beyond current limitations while helping others do the same, they had fulfilled the world shaper's true legacy. The age of stasis was over. The age of infinite becoming had begun.